Jenson Button then giving nothing away about his future. One man who was a little more willing to talk, though, is McLaren's Kieran Pilbeam, who gave us an insight into how you set up a car for the rigours of the Suzuka circuit. So here we are at very wet Suzuka. What are the unique challenges that face you in terms of setting up a car for this Grand Prix?
It's an interesting circuit. The drivers all like it. It's a fast circuit with lots of very high-speed corners. Lots of corners well over 180 kilometres an hour. There's 130R, which is it's now flat, but it's over 300 kilometres an hour. It's a very fast corner. So in terms of setup, it's very dependent on aerodynamic performance, efficiency particularly, so downforce without drag, which is always what you're after, but particularly around circuits like Suzuka and Silverstone. Spa is a very important factor. It's sensitive to engine power. And it's an interesting contrast from Singapore, where we raced last week, which is a very high downforce circuit, which is not really not as sensitive to aerodynamic efficiency. You just want downforce. Singapore's very bumpy. It's got lots of curbs, all slow corners really, apart from one. And Suzuka here is fast, smooth, not really many curbs. There are two slow corners, which you do need to bear in mind because they're at the beginning of reasonably long straights, so there is some performance there, but fundamentally the bias is much more towards high-speed performance here at Suzuka.
In terms of softness of the car, whereabouts would you place that?
Yeah, mechanically is different as well. The focus here is on aero, as I said, and to get that aero performance you would generally stiffen the car up quite a lot to aerodynamically maintain control of the car, but also the first sector here particularly has a lot of very high speed change of direction, and in stiffening up the car you give the driver that response that he needs here, which again is quite different from Singapore, where they need a bit more compliance from the car really.
There's a lot of elevation change here, which isn't usually, or not, I don't feel it's ever that well shown on television. Does that come into effect at all?
It affects a little bit. Camber across the track is one thing. Elevation up and down, as you say, there is quite a lot of that here at Suzuka. It doesn't make a huge difference unless it's in a braking zone or something like that, where it might affect how the drivers brake.
And the movable feast that is the weather here. It's very wet now. As we understand it, Sunday might be dry. How do you deal with the inclement weather and the fact that it is always, as I've said, it's sort of a moving feast, always changing?
We have a forecast which you always try and do your best with. It looks at the moment like Friday will be wet probably all day. Saturday we're not quite sure. Sunday probably dry, so it makes preparation for Sunday more difficult because we probably won't get any dry running tomorrow on Friday. All you can do is the best that you can. You just have to deal with it. You make the best use of the tyres and the time that you've got.
He had a smile on his face after the Singapore Grand Prix, and that's because Lewis Hamilton, even though he'd retired, felt he'd given a good account of himself, felt he'd done everything he could. It was an off weekend, though, for Mercedes in Singapore. 1.5 seconds off the pace in qualifying, and still with no real answer as to why they couldn't get those tyres turned on. Here in Japan, they've got to be hoping for a return to form because a resurgent Ferrari are breathing down their necks. Singapore can't happen again, can it, a blip like that? Because Ferrari are competitive. Sebastian's now just a few points off Nico.
Absolutely. They've been quick all year, but they've really taken a good step from kind of Monza onwards. And there's no point. There's never been a point at which we've been safe. They're getting close. They've beaten us in the last race, so we cannot have another race like that.
How do you come back from a weekend like that when nothing seemed to go right for you, and even when it did seem to be turning the tide and you had that great pace during the race, it was taken away from no fault of your own?
It's quite easy. That was not a difficult weekend for me. I've had way harder weekends, so it was a simple weekend really, apart from a few things that happened. In terms of personally, I just continued the way I was. The way I felt after the race, I still felt like I did everything I could have, so I just continued that way. I don't feel like I have to recover anything or I have to get over anything. I've just been training this week, getting on the time zone, and focused on this race.
how much do you enjoy driving around this track? Because it's always said it's a great driver's circuit. It's big, flowing, big, fast track. Do you enjoy it?
I do. I love this track. I think tracks that have, I don't know, it's like, I always describe it like old tracks have so much character. Obviously, you've got the history, which I guess adds to it. But like, it's like an old house, you know. When you go to an old house, it's like they don't make new houses nowadays. It's all perfectly calculated, the room sizes and all that stuff. It's where, you know, the older houses and older tracks, it's less calculated, more feel how they've designed it. And I don't know, this one's got ups and downs, and the crossover, it's awesome.
Japanese fans are absolutely incredible. That yellow banner up there with the cogs is actually for Alexander Rossi. That's the logo of his GP2 team. That's the level of passion. That is the level of loyalty, of understanding, of knowledge that these incredible fans have. They're all here all day today in the rain getting autographs from their favourite drivers. The drivers all come out. There's Perez. Hulkenberg's just turned up. It's a phenomenal place. Anyway, Alexander Rossi, what an incredible debut from him in Singapore. Tough Grand Prix. He had to combat losing his radio halfway through, having never driven the car before, well, never raced the car before, I should say. And he beat his teammate, and not just by a little bit. He really did beat him by 13 seconds in the end. In the last 18 laps, pulled out 13 seconds on Will Stevens. So a great job from Alexander Rossi. But how does he feel coming in here to what will be his... here he comes now. Into what will be his second Grand Prix as a Formula One driver. Here is the young American on his hopes and expectations for this weekend. Alexander, 1 week on, not even a week, a few days after your Formula One debut, how do you look back on Singapore and all that you achieved?
I think with fondness, but it feels like it's quite a long time ago already. I'm quite proud of what we were able to accomplish, but this whole week leading up to Suzuka has been focusing on this event and doing the best that we can to kind of repeat the performance that we had, if not, well, planning to do a bit better as well.
Have you looked at any of the reviews of the race and any of the press that you got coming out of the Grand Prix? Because it was all immensely positive.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the support that got shown from America was really positive. The support from the paddock was good. And I think that it was a very good first race. And it's something that we can definitely build upon. And I'm still looking back, and there's some things I would have liked to do differently. And some things that even on Sunday I think could have been better. So hopefully we can, learn from those mistakes and carry it forward this weekend.
Character building weekend for you as well with the problem in FP1. Here we come to Suzuka, the driver's circuit, high speeds, but also wet. Are you going to have to tread carefully in practice, or do you have enough confidence in the car from what you learnt in Singapore to go out and push from the off?
No, I won't tread cautiously at all, really. I feel that after 2 hours of driving on Sunday, I had a very good idea of what the car, how it works, and the little idiosyncrasies that it has, and how to get around those. So I'm feeling great about getting in the car and whatever conditions we have, and just pushing as hard as I can, and go as quickly as I can. And
without the radio, you had to kind of figure it out for yourself as well.
Yeah, I was having to recall the kind of driver's manual.
How thick is it?
Yeah, like this. So maybe 40 pages. And I was trying to rethink. Right, I swear I read that somewhere, so I was second guessing myself a couple times. But in the end, it worked out, and we had a pit board with some more information, so it was fine. But it definitely made things more difficult than I had imagined.
And you've got support here as well in the grandstand already. I see it as a flag for your racing engineering GP2 team. They really love their motorsport over here.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. When I saw that, it kind of made the day, actually. The fact that they're supporting me even in GP2 and racing engineering. And I know that racing engineering has a great fan base, but all the way out here in Japan is fantastic.
Alexander, Will Stevens and the whole Manor team will be racing with Jules Bianchi in their hearts this weekend. It's impossible to come back here to Suzuka without thinking of our friend who we dearly miss. There have been alterations to the circuit. Drainage has been improved at certain corners around the track. A large crane has been placed behind the barriers where Jules had his accident. We hope, as we always do every weekend, in the knowledge that motor racing will always be dangerous, we hope for a safe Grand Prix. That's your lot from Paddock Pass. Here are your times, and we can't wait to get this one underway. It's such a wonderful circuit, it's such a wonderful country, and every year we have a great Grand Prix. So join us for everything from now, though, from here in Suzuka. Goodbye.